Today, we're going to dive into a hidden connection, a really powerful link between what you crave and maybe more importantly, when you crave it. It's a link that's secretly being run by your brain's very own internal clock. You know that feeling, right? It's late, you should be winding down, but suddenly you have this huge urge to scroll or to snack or maybe even to click Add to Cart. And listen, it's not just a lack of willpower. It turns out there's a fascinating biological reason for this, a kind of tug-of-war that's happening deep inside your brain. So to really get a handle on this tug-of-war, we first have to meet one of the main players, and that is the powerful engine driving all these urges, your brain's reward system. At the very heart of all this is a network called the mesolimbic system. Now, you can think of it as the brain's core motivation circuit. It's the part that says, hey, that was good, let's definitely do that again. It's basically designed to reinforce behaviors that are essential for our survival. And the fuel for this entire engine? Well, it's a chemical you've probably heard a lot about, dopamine. The whole process is actually beautifully simple. You experience something you find rewarding, let's say eating a delicious meal or getting a like on social media, and boom, a tiny region called the VTA fires up. It then floods another area, the nucleus accumbens, with dopamine. And that flood, that's the feeling of pleasure. It's your brain basically stamping the experience with a big yes, remember this. So the takeaway here is absolutely crucial. Dopamine isn't just a player in this game. It is the central player. It's the chemical messenger that tells us what's valuable, what's worth wanting, and it drives us to seek those things out over and over again. Okay, so we've got the reward engine, but that's only half the story. Now let's bring in the second major force at play here, our body's incredibly precise built-in timekeeper. And this is where it gets really interesting. I mean, why isn't the craving for a cookie or a social media binge just constant? Why does it seem to spike in the evening? Well, the answer lies in our biology's deep connection to the 24-hour cycle of our planet. Every single one of us runs on these internal 24-hour clocks. We call them circadian rhythms. And the master conductor of this whole biological orchestra is a tiny little spot in the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or just SCN for short. It's the SCN that keeps our entire body, everything from hormone release to body temperature, running on a daily schedule. But you might be wondering, how does this master clock stay in sync with the actual world outside? Well, it uses external cues, which are known as Zeitgebers. It's a German word that literally means time givers. And that's exactly what they are, signals that tell our body what time it is. Now, the most powerful time giver, by far, is light. It's the main signal that sets our master clock every single day. But, and this is so important, it's not the only one. Rewarding activities, yep, the very same things that trigger that dopamine release, can also act as really strong time givers, fully capable of shifting our internal schedule. And right there, that's where we start to see the connection. So let's recap. We have a reward system that's fueled by dopamine, and we have a timing system run by our internal clock. Now let's pull back the curtain and see how these two systems are surprisingly and profoundly tangled up together. What's just fascinating is that dopamine isn't only released when we do something rewarding. Its baseline levels actually follow a circadian rhythm all on their own. They naturally rise during the day, our active phase, to get us motivated and alert, and then they fall at night, our rest phase, to help us wind down. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just a case of the clock telling dopamine what to do. The influence flows in both directions. It's a constant conversation happening between our drive for reward and our sense of time. Okay, so here's how this two-way street actually works. On one side, you've got the master clock, the SCN, directly influencing the VTA. It's basically dialing our motivation up or down depending on the time of day. But on the other side, a really powerful rewarding activity, like that late-night snack, releases a rush of dopamine that sends a signal back to the clock. It's essentially shouting, hey, it must be daytime because we're doing something important and rewarding right now. Now, for most of human history, this feedback loop worked perfectly. But in our modern 24/7 world, this beautiful, elegant system can be very easily hijacked. You see, our brains evolved to seek out natural rewards that were generally scarce and tied to our survival. But today, we are just surrounded by super stimuli, these incredibly tasty foods, addictive substances, and just endless digital entertainment, and they're available around the clock. These things can completely hijack that ancient reward pathway.
Let's just use food as an example. Research actually shows our hunger has its own internal circadian rhythm, and it tends to peak right around 8 p.m. Now, this isn't just about your stomach being empty. This is your body clock priming you for that last big energy intake before the long fast of sleep.
So what happens when we satisfy that 8 p.m. hunger peak with something super tasty? High sugar, high fat foods? We get a huge dopamine hit. And that powerful reward signal can start to shift our internal clocks, which confuses our metabolism and just reinforces that habit of late-night eating.
And of course, food is just one piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about another huge modern time giver, our screens. That number you see? That's the average time adults in the US spend on their devices every single day. And a lot of that happens right before we try to go to sleep.
And this creates a serious double whammy of disruption. First, the blue light from the screen directly confuses our master clock by suppressing melatonin, the sleep hormone. But at the exact same time, all that engaging content is giving us a nice dopamine reward, which acts as a powerful time giver, telling our brain that it's time for action, not rest. We are literally telling our body that it's midday when it's actually midnight.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, a really clear and powerful message starts to emerge. This is about so much more than just what we do or what we consume. It's about when we do it.
And this is the crucial point. This is the one thing to remember from all of this. Engaging in these highly rewarding activities at the wrong biological time sends a whole bunch of conflicting signals throughout our entire system. It puts our reward pathways and our internal clocks totally out of sync.
And the consequences of being out of sync, well, they're pretty significant. This constant mismatch is linked to a whole host of modern health problems, everything from sleep disruption and metabolic issues, all the way to a higher risk for developing addictive disorders. So it really leaves us with a critical question to think about. Our biology is ancient. It's tuned to the rising and setting of the sun. But our technology and our culture demand that we are on 24/7. So how can we possibly navigate this conflict and learn to listen to and realign with that powerful natural clockwork that's ticking away inside all of us?